It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, doing the mental math you swore you'd stop doing, the car payment, the rent, the credit card minimums. You add the expenses, you subtract the paycheck, and there it is, that suffocating tightness in your chest. You're working 50 hours a week. You're doing everything you were told to do. Get the degree, get the job. So why does it feel like you are drowning? Stop. Here's what you don't want to hear. You aren't failing. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as designed. You were never meant to get ahead. You are running on a treadmill engineered to ensure you never reach the end. Why the system needs you to be in debt forever isn't an accident. It is the core business model. And right now, you are its most profitable product. Let that sink in. Your anxiety is their asset. You get a raise, you celebrate. Finally, breathing room. So what do? You don't save that cash. You upgrade the car. You lease the newer model because it's only $200 more a month. You tell yourself you need it. You deserve it, right? Wrong. You are now locked in for 60 months. You just sold 5 years of your future for heated seats. Then comes the phone. Yours works fine. But the carrier smiles, says the upgrade is free with a 3-year contract. You sign the pad. You walk out feeling like a winner because you didn't pay a single dime today. But you did pay. You paid with your autonomy. Lifestyle creep isn't an accident. It is an engineered trap to absorb every extra penny you earn. This is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. They don't just want your cash today. They want the absolute guarantee you will clock in tomorrow. You're sitting at your desk, 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Your manager drops another project on your desk, a project that guarantees you will miss dinner. Again. You feel the anger rise in your throat. You want to push it back. You want to stand up and say, "No, I am going home." But you don't say a word, you swallow it. You force a smile, you type on it. Why? Because you have that car payment. Because the credit card bill auto-deducts on the 15th. Because if you lose this job, you lose everything in 3 weeks. Pause for a second. Nobody is going to tell you this, but your debt is the leash around your neck. A financially independent person is highly dangerous to them. A free person can say no. A free person can walk away from abuse. This is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. Debt is leverage. Debt is manufactured obedience. As long as you owe them tomorrow, they own you today. You're on your couch, scrolling. An ad pops up for a lifestyle you didn't know existed 10 minutes ago. Suddenly, your perfectly fine life feels inadequate. There is a hollow ache in your chest. So you click Buy Now. You split the cost into 4 easy payments. You call it self-care. Stop. That wasn't your desire. That was an implanted virus. A century ago, Edward Bernays discovered a terrifying truth. If you link products to deep human insecurities, people will buy absolutely anything. He didn't sell items. He sold identity. What this means for you is that your emotional needs have been weaponized. They convinced you consumption cures anxiety. This engineered emptiness is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. If you were ever truly satisfied, the machine would collapse. They manufacture your pain just to finance your cure. You've had a brutal week. Your boss degraded you. You feel entirely out of control. So you open the app on your phone. You don't even need anything. You just start filling the cart. A new jacket. Another subscription box. $100 of things you'll forget you ordered by Tuesday. You hit checkout. For about 3 seconds you feel a rush, a tiny hit of dopamine, a fleeting sense of power. You tell yourself you took back control. You did something just for you. Wrong. Here is what you don't want to hear. You didn't do it for you. You self-medicated the stress of your financial prison by buying more bars for the cage. You are using consumption to numb the pain of being consumed. That momentary, pathetic high is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. They break your spirit from 9 to 5, then finance your coping mechanisms on the weekend. You're 18, sitting at a desk. They slide a paper across to you with a number that looks fake, $60,000. They tell you it's an investment. They call it good debt. They tell you to sign on the dotted line so you can be somebody, so you do. You don't question it. You just accept that auctioning off your 20s is the price of entry. A decade later, you do the exact same thing for a 30-year mortgage. Stop. Here is what nobody is going to tell you. There is no such thing as good debt. That categorization is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. They repackaged financial extortion as education and shelter. They sold you a degree that barely gets your resume read, chaining you to monthly payments until your hair turns gray. They made indentured servitude a cultural milestone. It was never an investment in your future. It was a hostile takeover of your life. You check your bank account. You aren't looking at the big expenses. You're looking at the daily bleed. $14.99 here, $9.99 there. Streaming services you haven't watched. The delivery app charging you $7 just to bring cold fries to your door. The subscription that quietly upgraded itself. You shrug it off. You tell yourself it's just coffee money. You defend the trap because canceling means navigating 5 menus and a guilt trip from a robot. So you let it ride. Stop. Here is what nobody will tell you. Convenience is the modern word for financial hemorrhage. They don't want your life savings in one violent robbery. They want a permanent, invisible siphon attached to your checking account. This frictionless microbleeding is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. They keep you broke in increments of $15 so you never build the capital to escape. You're at a red light. A shinier car pulls up. The driver wears a watch worth more than your first year of college. You grip your steering wheel tighter. You stare at your dusty dashboard. A sharp wave of embarrassment hits you. You immediately start calculating how much you need to put down to trade your car in by the weekend. You don't realize that driver is drowning in lease payments. You just feel small. You go home and browse dealerships. You tell yourself it's about reliability. Stop. Here is what you don't want to hear. Your desire for status is the weapon they use to execute your future. They turn your neighbors into walking billboards to make you feel inadequate. This manufactured anxiety is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. They don't force you to hand over your cash. They just make you terrified of looking poor. You stare at the group chat. The link drops for a weekend trip. You open your banking app. The balance barely covers next week's groceries. You feel that familiar dread. You know you should type, "I have to sit this one out." But you don't. You type, "Count me in." You pull out the plastic and type the 16 digits. Stop. Here is what you absolutely do not want to hear. The system built the cage, but you lock the door yourself. You choose the chains because looking successful right now feels better than actually being free tomorrow. You are a willing participant in your own slaughter. Your shadow complicity is exactly why the system needs you to be in debt forever. They don't even have to force you to spend. They built a culture where financial boundaries feel like social failure, and you happily swipe your future away just to buy a weekend of pretending. You are holding your phone right now, staring at another checkout screen. This is the moment. You have two choices. Option A, you click buy. You keep working 50 hours a week just to hand your paycheck to a bank that sees you as livestock. You remain a well-behaved, indentured servant to a machine that feeds on your future. Option B, you close the app. You delete the saved cards. You choose the brutal, ugly discipline of starving the beast. It is going to hurt. Your friends will call you cheap. Your ego will scream for the dopamine hit of a new purchase. Let it scream. Here is the final truth. Why the system needs you to be in debt forever is because your financial independence is their literal destruction. A society that only buys what it needs cannot be controlled. They need your debt to survive. You don't need their plastic to live. Stop feeding them. Make your choice.